Slap that like button like it was Chris Rock. Release the McCracken. Starting off with a really good joke there. What's up, everybody? What's up, Susie? What's up, Carrie? What's up, Nintendo? What's up, John? What's up, Kraken? What's crack-a-lackin'? How you guys doing? I'm doing good. I've had... So, like, my wife went on a business trip, so I've had the entire house to myself. It's just been, like, me and the doggies. We've just been chilling out together. Gizmo got a haircut. Y'all notice? Look at this. She looks even more like a puppy than she ever did before. Huh. Yeah. So it's just been me and the dogs hanging out. And I've been, like, eating... I ate, like, last night, I had, like, wings from Wingstop, you know? You gotta go... Like, the wings and dudes just go together, and at Wingstop, they've got this Louisiana rub flavor that I'm just absolutely head over heels for. You get some extra seasoning on those fries. You're fat by the end of it. You're fat. But, you know, worth it. Worth it. Tonight, I'm gonna go to the store. Here, you wanna go play? I'm going to the store. I'm getting myself a nice ribeye. I'm gonna make myself an old-fashioned. Maybe several. Okay? I'm gonna reverse sear I'm gonna Gordon Ramsay up a steak. You know, and I'm just gonna sit there and watch action movies. Going back to the bachelor life. Just for a few days until she comes back from Boston. But I've just been having a really good time. They said that, like, men in marriages, like, some comedian put it best. It's like, men, we love women. We want you there, but we don't want you. We want you around, but we're solitary creatures, man. The Louisiana rub is the best, John. I agree. Morning, everyone, unless you're on the East Coast, says John. Yeah, it's not morning for you guys. It's lunchtime now. It's 11 o'clock in Central Standard Time, the only time zone that matters. I need to reiterate this every single time. We've got NASA and Texas. What more do I need to say? PSA, don't get married. You can get married. Just make sure that, you know, you get married to the right lady. Not gonna lie, when you said someone got a haircut, I looked you over first, Brandon. No, my beard is like it only looks even remotely a little like in order because I spend an inordinate amount of time yesterday trying to make sure that all the wild hairs that grow out, but like my hair is a little bit longer than I typically have it. My haircut's actually later today. 5 o'clock, I'm going to my barber to get a haircut. Just so I can get a little cleaned up. You want to surround, but you want to be left alone. Exactly! Hey, thank you, Pickled Squirrel gets it. We love when you ladies are around. We just don't want to be bothered. Like, one of my favorite things that my wife and I used to do, not so much anymore since I sold them off, but I used to just sit there and play PlayStation on the couch, and she would just sit there on her phone, hanging out. And that was heaven for me. You know, she was right there. We were having a good time. I was doing my thing. She was doing hers. And we were just together. I think many people in marriages don't, like, I wonder if that's not talked about quite a bit. They always talk about communication, but they don't talk about, like, moments of silence where you can just sit there and be together without having to speak to one another. And just enjoying each other's company. You know? You don't always have to have a running commentary. That's also important, in my honest opinion. Something I've learned over the course of my relationship with my lady on into my marriage. Bedtime? Bedtime for you? You work late, huh? My dream life will include my handsome beau and the duplex next to me. Shared fenced yard nearby, but with our own separate space. You know what? Yeah, every dream. I get it now. When it comes like have you guys ever watched The Crown? If you watch The Crown, like they have like the queen and the king, or I guess Prince Philip. They have bedrooms that are like on opposite sides. of the entire house or whatever. It's like they have a central room where they can meet and discuss and, you know, have their wifey husband time. But then they go to their separate bedrooms. That's what it's about, baby. That's why I want to be a millionaire. That way my wife can have her own closet, her own bedroom, her own space where she can go to hang out. I can have my own bedroom. You know, if we want to sleep in the same bed one night, that's perfectly fine, you know. But otherwise, we just have completely separate spaces. This is why you become a millionaire. I have the largest concentration of military, CIA, and NASA. Don't mess with Virginia. Virginia, you got a point. You have a point. But you still live in the Northeast. I'm sorry. That's called parallel play, Brandon. See, we all learn something new every day. Parallel play! A proper silence is its own communication. I have spoken. The ladies know what I'm talking about. I like that the ladies are speaking up, being like, no, we agree, yeah. Bringing back separate rooms like the Flintstones, but to the extreme. Dude, I remember seeing that in like, what was it? Dick Van Dyke. I love the Dick Van Dyke Show. I love it. I watch it still. Like, I'll go back and watch reruns. But it's so funny that back then they had like their own twin beds that were separated. Because back then you couldn't have men and women in the same bed. It wasn't allowed. It wasn't proper back then. I also learned that you couldn't actually show a pregnant woman or talk about pregnancy at all back then. But maybe they were onto something. I don't know, man. Because every now and again, because like you're in bed with one another, and you know, first there's the cover war that goes on. Okay, I've been the aggressor and the defender in many situations. For the war of the blanket, and we have dogs, and my golden retriever Remy, he likes to, you know, sleep between us. So whoever wins the cover war, the moment that Remy lays down, wins the cover war, because he keeps the blanket in place from that point on. Okay. Then there's the space war. The space war, at some point in time, somebody's going to claim more of the bed, and most of the time that is going to be the wife. The man will have like the wife and all the animals, right? The man will have like a 3-inch strip of space on the bed, while the wife and the animals like claim the rest of it. So there's that, you know, and then there's like, oh, I'm hot, oh, I'm cold. No one can agree on the temperature. I'm just saying, maybe separate beds is a thing that they nailed back then. Okay, I don't know. I know it was just for TV. I know the Dick Van Dyke Show only did that, and other shows did that because, you know, they wanted to not have to display the improper things. But, I mean, let's face facts. Maybe they were onto something, guys. Does anyone else notice Mr. Morse? Notice Mrs. Morse is in Boston. He's talking big today. Talking big? What are you talking about? My wife would be here going, yeah, I know. we can do this. Couldn't show belly buttons either. Yeah. Like, they had a lot of rules back then that I wasn't aware of. You would think because of, like, I Dream of Jeannie and stuff like that, that would be the case. But, I mean, like, yeah, they were pretty strict back then. Like, the Dick Van Dyke Show actually, like, epitomized a lot of the stuff you couldn't actually do, which is really interesting to look back on today. Of course, TV was a lot better back then, too. So maybe they were on this. I don't know. Or something else. Or 3 inches, but that's not something to discuss. John is, of course, talking about pillow space. No. Today we're gonna talk about Disney. I wanted to talk about Disney because, man, you know, back in the day, whenever Disney would release anything, it would be an event. Like, people would be obsessed with whatever it is that they were releasing. And this is like back in the from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs onward. If Disney released anything, the world paid attention because it was probably going to be breakthrough. It was probably going to be amazing story-wise. It was going to capture the hearts and minds of everyone from 3-year-olds on up to 90-year-olds. It was an amazing company that did amazing things. Walt Disney was an amazing man. He was a revolutionary. Maybe a little bit weird, but that's perfectly fine. You need weirdness in order to create something great. Things that we consider weird today are probably going to be considered groundbreaking tomorrow, right? Disney had an idea and he made it happen along with his brother Roy, who handled most of the business aspects, because Walt was a creative, right? Walt was a creative. Roy Disney was the business brains behind it all. And Roy had to rope in Disney quite a bit, which is actually pretty funny. It's an interesting story, but it was an interesting dynamic that you still see kind of succeed to this day. But there was always a respectability to Disney, despite the fact that they would go ham on all sorts of things in terms of grandeur and storylines, epicness. They were groundbreaking there, but there was always a respectability that they stuck with. Fast forward to today, to 2022, and that respectability has completely disappeared. That feeling of grandeur has completely disappeared. The groundbreaking ideas completely disappeared. Disney is a shadow of its former self. It is unrecognizable from what it used to be, man. I remember going into to the Lion King long time ago, and I just remember thinking this is the greatest company that has ever been. I'd never been to Disneyland or Disney World, neither one of those. But man, it was one of my top 3 destinations that I still haven't to this day been to any of the Disney parks. And I, for a long time, was like, I want to go so bad. That is one of the top 3 places I've always wanted to go. You know, if you were a kid or you were an adult with kids, that's where you went, man. And even to this day, I'll still hear like stories, man. The Disney parks are just an entire, it's a whole nother country, man. But you look at the way Disney is today, and it is unrecognizable. Something went wrong. And it started going wrong a little while ago. I want to say it started going wrong in the early aughts. I knew that there was something wrong because of the Disney Channel. You had all these young stars, actors and actresses who would go off the deep end and become things that are they, you know, like Miley Cyrus. Miley Cyrus went from being Hannah Montana, like one of the most popular stars in the world, to being someone who I look at and I'm like, she looks sticky. She looks sticky. I wouldn't want to touch her. You know, so she just got gross. And I think she did it on purpose. You had other Disney stars who went into literal hardcore porn. You had many get caught doing drugs and all sorts of stuff. Like their lives just fall apart. They grow up and something is wrong with them. And now, get me wrong, you know, many child stars kind of go off the deep end, but for some reason, Disney stars in particular just were nuts. And now you have Disney going from being neutral about politics to wanting to be involved in politics pretty hardcore. They seem to have fallen to special interest groups, to politicians, to activists, to media pressure. I can remember it's been going on for some time. Whenever they first announced Frozen and they displayed some of the characters they were working on, you had the left get really angry because none of the characters were at all, they were all white. And that made them very angry. And they started to complain and accuse Disney of racism. And then that was back in, like, you know, the early aughts, like the Tumblr days. I would see these things on Tumblr all the time. And then as I've said before, these extremists that were on Tumblr and always complaining about racism and I'm otherkin and I am transgender and I'm this and that and da 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 da. They graduated college, they got into the workforce, and they infiltrated. And they infiltrated. And they infiltrated. And now you see activists running major corporations effectively. And one of those major corporations is a corporation that is one of the largest distributors of child entertainment. And they are so hard leftist now that they have sided with the groomers that have effectively attached themselves to the radical left, to the LGBT activist community, and they have now sided with a lot of these people who want to introduce sex and sexuality to your child. So much so that they are vowing to interfere in politics now. It's a sad state of affairs. Disney is not what it used to be. It has become evil. The golden age of Disney is over. Now it's the brown age. ABC Family has... It's the rust age, almost. Yeah. It's rusty. Disney is full of rust. ABC Family had interesting programming. Yeah, I remember some of that programming. I'm as snarky and sarcastic as anyone, but seeing the oldest daughter wave excitedly at Snow White was so damn wholesome. We went when she was 6. Wow. That's cool. I mean, my sister was obsessed with Disney. I loved Disney movies. Oh man, Pixar, get out. I remember when Toy Story first debuted. I went and saw that, and I thought I was just like, I thought that I had just seen the future, and I was right. I was like, this is the most amazing thing I had ever laid eyes. Now you go back and you watch Toy Story, it looks a little dated, but you know what? It still holds up. Pixar broke ground, and like the story of Pixar is absolutely amazing, but even Pixar's been infiltrated. Anything and everything that has sway or influence on people has been infiltrated by the same people we used to think were fringe. God knows what she, talking about Miley Cyrus, God knows what she picked up licking damn near everything. Dude, that was part of the weirdness. Again, something about Disney kids are, they went nuts, man. Billy Ray said the worst thing he's done was Hannah Montana. See, but the funny thing is I have to wonder why, because it was such look, Hannah Montana was one of those shows that set the Disney Channel up for success. It was a, for all intents and purposes, a great show. I got to tell you, I would even watch it sometimes with my sisters. And I would be genuinely entertained. I think that maybe if it is bad, it's because of what it did to him and his kid. I mean, if I had to go back and say, like, if it meant my daughter stays sane and upright and you know, has a very stable, awesome life, then I would go back and I would eliminate anything that gave me riches or fame. But Billy Ray Cyrus always seemed to kind of be a little nuts himself, to be honest with you. I was thinking of a darker shade of brown. One that's a little more organic. I wonder what went on behind the scenes. That's a good question because, I mean, whatever's happening behind the scenes at Disney or the Disney Channel and all that stuff. I mean, you look at Zendaya and Bella Thorne were on the same show, a show called Shake It Up. And Zendaya, she turned out relatively normal. But Bella Thorne, she's kind of a thought now. You know, a THOT. It's a little strange. It's a little strange. I'm totally a Warner Brothers girl. If Disney was based on Bugs Bunny, etc., I would be all over that. And Warner Brothers isn't really that much better either. At least, I think, at least Warner Brothers has the understanding that they have to ditch some of the more social justice infused stuff. I think that they just really recently got rid of DC Comics. Like they're like not the entire brand, mind you. I still think they hold on to everything like Batman and all that stuff, but the actual comic, like the people publishing the comics, they're gone. Because DC Comics, you want to talk about another outlet that got infiltrated by social justice advocates and like woke culture idiots. These people, man, DC Comics, you want to talk about unrecognizable. You've had authors and like editors, artists, all these people abandon DC Comics because of how woke it's become. One guy, he is North African by descent, Libyan, half Libyan, and he left because he got tired of the white executives at the DC Comics effectively treating him like he needed to be protected and he needed to have soft treatment. He was treated differently. It was the soft bigotry of low expectations, and it had insulted him, and he said, I'm out. Peace. I'm not doing this anymore. Bye. They killed Animaniacs. Well, that's, one reason. To hate Warner Brothers. Animaniacs was awesome, dude. Animaniacs, Freakazoid. Man, that was a golden age of TV, bro. Golden age for kids. Oh, my gosh. All right, let's dive in, though, because I got a lot to talk about. And that was a very long rant that I just went on. Walt Disney is rolling over in his cryo freezer. This is from Jim Thompson, who wrote an amazing article about the fall of Disney and what it means right now. And how sad it is. DC is releasing NFTs to help make them money. Maybe they should write good comics. Maybe they should write good comics. All right, you guys, real fast, before I don't want to get stun locked on this. American comics are failing. Okay? American comics are failing. No one's reading them anymore. It's because they've all been infused with this social justice nonsense that people don't care about. They're superheroes. They're escapism. People do not want to have to think about politics when they're enjoying their escapism. That's why it's escapism. You know what they are reading, though? You know what is outselling DC Comics, Marvel Comics, all that? You know what's really outselling them in that category? Japanese manga. Everybody in America is reading Japanese manga, specifically Demon Slayer, Attack on Titan, Berserk. People are reading those. You know why? It's because they do not care in Japan right now what our American politics are going through. They do not invest in any way in the social justice community. They just tell good stories. And people are so thirsty for that they have begun resorting to go to Japan for everything entertainment related, whether it's video games, comics, anime is on the rise like it's never been before. You have American studios trying to make their own anime films now, or at least anime-looking films, because they're trying to move in, but like they're not getting it. It's not the art style, it's the subject matter. If you are making something that people really want to enjoy and allow them to escape and focus on a story, they don't have to think about the politics for 5 freaking seconds. There's no little jabs here and there. They're going to run to that. Japanese manga is outselling our own comic industry by leaps and bounds, and that's not an accident. It's not a trend. If we were making good stories here in America, they would be buying our comics. Remember that America for a very long time was one of our biggest exports was culture. People were obsessed with American culture. We were cool, man. We were in vogue. We were coming up with stories that were wowing people. Now look at us. What do we create? We export depression. We export racism and sexism, and we call it virtue. What does that tell you, man? No one wants this anymore. The human mind does not need to be guilted into compliance every time it opens up a book or switches a channel or goes to a movie. But they insist. They don't just insist, they force. And then they wonder why we don't pay attention anymore. This is why the American people, we're tuning out. We're going elsewhere. I'm a huge consumer of anime. I love anime. Right now, Attack on Titan, my favorite show. I just got into Demon Slayer. It's pretty good. I've been watching Food Wars. It's fun. I've read every single Berserk graphic novel that there is, and it is amazing. I get it. I know why people are I've seen it. I know why people are tuning in. And I am much more likely to tune into anything Japan related than I am American related right now. They tell a story. That's as simple as it gets. Anyway, that's my little rant there. My little rant. This is from Jim Thompson. It is, by the way, Jim Thompson is our comics guy. He makes some really great comics. Be sure to check out him whenever he releases something new. Wheel of Morality, turn, turn, turn. Tell us the lesson that we should learn. Solid reference. Just keep pumping woke trash. That'll work. Yeah, that'll make us buy. What's up, Heather? Sup, ninjas? Wasn't Berserk Keanu inspired? Berserk Keanu inspired? I don't know about that. Berserk's been around, I think, since like the late 80s or early 90s. If I remember correctly. But if you read Berserk, first off, it ain't for kids. Trust me, it ain't for kids. It deals with some deep subject matter, and it's got some adult situations of graphic nature, and I'm not just talking about violence. Walt Disney died in 1966. A little factoid for you. Hey, noobs. I like that he's named himself Nintendo, but you say that. It's a very gamer moment. Sup, noobs? Claims that he was cryogenically frozen in hopes that he'd be thawed and brought back maybe as a greeter at Tomorrowland have been credibly disputed, but to my knowledge, never completely refuted. By the way, how come they've never made like a 3D? You know how they did that with Tupac? And I think Michael Jackson? How come they never made one for Walt? They should totally do that. Walt would be 121, and even if he is frozen like a bag of peas and could be unfrozen like Austin Powers, I think it's likely he'd opt to go back into the freezer. Dude, if I woke up and I was Walt Disney and I saw the company as it is now, I would... I mean, first off, would he still legally own Walt Disney? Like, would he be able to take back control and just walk and be like, you're all fired, every single one of you, get out? Because that's what I would do. When Walt Disney reigned, he stayed out of most political messaging. Disney Co. was an entertainment company, not a pack. It was in the business to entertain children, big and small, but the modern version of Disney's company has gotten distinctly political and rather selective in its moral outrage. Disney is in bed with communist China and makes no apologies for it. It filmed in Xinjiang, China, where Uyghurs were imprisoned and abused, then thanked the slavers for their help. It would be like filming Pirates of the Caribbean on a slave ship, then thanking the slavers for the cool set. Disney has a selector switch on its outrage button. Communist China gets thanked. Florida gets outrage. When Florida proposed and then passed the Parental Rights and Education Bill in the legislature, Disney's response was muted. Then inmates in the asylum revolted and walked out on Disney. The walkout was to oppose the bill, a bill critics and media characterized as the, quote, don't say gay bill. I add the media in with the crazies because you cannot read a single hard news report that doesn't call in the pejorative don't say gay bill as opposed to the actual name. Nowhere in the bill does it say gay. It's not a difficult read, 7 pages. It simply does not allow teachers to set into the curriculum or advance ad hoc instruction of human sexuality. Parents can sue if it happens. It's limited to kindergarten through 3rd grade, meaning that it simply stops teachers from influencing little children. I personally think it doesn't go far enough. I would like to include the entirety of public school education. It is not the teacher's job to teach sex and sexualization to the children unless it's in health class and you're literally just getting down to the nuts and bolts. I do not understand why any teacher thinks that they need to teach kids gay anal sex. I don't get it. Why is that their business? Why do they feel the need to teach them homosexuality, transgender? It doesn't make any sense. That's not what they should be. It's public education. The basics are what they need to learn. Children who still believe in the tooth fairy and Santa should not be instructed on human sexuality or being told they are in the wrong body. Amen. The Florida bill doesn't influence parents on how they, as parents, can instruct their own kindergartner on gender. Parents are still free to tell a child who can't keep crayons inside the lines that there are 20 genders. The vast majority of parents will leave that discussion for when their child isn't just starting to read Cat in the Hat. Also, the majority of even Democrats agree with Ron DeSantis and the Florida legislature. That's important to understand. Most parents, both sides of the aisle, agree with this legislation. This big to-do with all these supposed parents and outraged Floridians and stuff like that, small group of people that the media is trying to make out to be a much larger group. Remember, folks, I repeat this over and over again, the left loves to play with numbers. They like to make mountains out of molehills. Because if they can get you to believe that more people are for whatever they're for, the more likely you are to take it seriously and listen. Children who... I read that already. Also, the majority of even Democrats agree with Ron DeSantis and the Florida legislature. The general public, by a wide margin, sees no valid reason for a stranger to teach a 6-year-old girl that she's, quote, in the wrong body and needs to be called a boy. That polling is for voting Democrats. If pollsters asked just parents, the percentage in favor of allowing children to remain children would skyrocket. I interacted on Twitter with Nikki Fry, the Democrat running for governor in Florida. Her response to DeSantis signing it was steeped in statesmanship. Gay, she said. And Jim came back with an amazing response. That's more times than it appears in the bill. Well played, Duro. The left is fond of inventing phony labels to distract from reality. This one, quote, don't say gay, is easy to repeat, and it can be distilled into one word, gay. It would be a smart strategy if it weren't completely unmoored from reality and unpopular generally. I wouldn't be surprised if it originated with Disney. It's pretty Mickey Mouse. It's been employed with vigor by the usual suspects, Democrats intent on gaslighting and actors intent on scoring virtue points. It was repeated predictably at the Oscars last night, and all the acting seals barked with glee. Disney, as a company, went from mildly objecting to now vowing to, quote, fight it. When I took corporation law in law school, I was told that publicly owned corporations aren't supposed to engage in activity detrimental to shareholder value, but Disney is doing it. Times have changed. Corporations are now more fearful of employees than shareholders. God, that is so true. Disney has taken a side. It sided with the hard left and those who want to propagandize to kindergartners. Disney is cool with kids that have trouble counting to 20 being told that there are 20 genders. No thank you, I'll side with sanity. I canceled my Disney Plus subscription long ago, so the best that I can do is repeat, don't say Disney and mean it. Walt Disney is rolling in his freezer. Excellent article by Jim Thompson. This is at redstate.com. Everything I'm talking about right now is at redstate.com. Go there now. You can follow along with me. Go there later. Go there whenever. We've got amazing writers like Jim there who are just amazing. I love that. This is a great article, and he's so on point. Here's what I wanted to do to reinforce this point, because I think it's very important. Nobody, it seems, has actually read the bill who's mad about it. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to read the bill. That's what we're going to do. Keanu's my age, so it's possible that he created stuff in the 80s. Don't forget the thumbs up. Yeah, press the like button if you haven't already. Press that like button. Walt has spun to a nub in his ice casket, but they think nuts are bolts now, so vice versa. That was good. And if you have kindergartners asking graphic questions about sex, there is probably something wrong at home. Yeah, it's like when we were watching those TikToks. I think it was 2 Fridays ago. We were watching those TikToks of these hard left educators, and this girl was just like, she was so giddily talking about how her students, who are 4 or 5 years old, I think they were kindergarten or something of that nature, and they just suddenly started talking about genitalia and gender. No, you started talking about it. You started talking about it, and you have been training and grooming them to be little transgenderists, just like yourself. You introduced sex and sexuality to children, and that's why they were talking about it. Not because they just mysteriously brought it up out of nowhere. Now, that lady has been fired, thank God. Exactly, they shouldn't be knowing anything about sex. Agreed. What were you obsessed with, chat, when you were a kid? When you were that old? I was concerned about very few things. When was I going to eat? When were my cartoons going to come on? Who was going to play sports with me outside? Soccer, football, frisbee, kick the can, that kind of stuff. Where can I go ride my bicycle? When am I going to go to grandma's house and get some cookies? Like, these things were the only things that I was really concerned about. The easiest life on the planet is the life of a 4 or 5-year-old kid. And they want to come in and start saying, well, now we know that you just learned to count. We know that you are just now learning your ABCs, but let me introduce the concepts of identity and sexual identity, of sexualization. Let me introduce these concepts that you're not even supposed to start thinking about until puberty starts to kick in. To you, small child. Why? If you are trying to do that, you are trying to sexualize children in some way, shape, or form. You are a criminal, period. I understand that kids ask questions. You know, why do I have a pee-pee and my sister doesn't? How come you have things on your chest, but daddy doesn't? How come you wear makeup, but daddy doesn't? You know, all these things. They're going to ask questions because kids are they're little knowledge sponges. But answering those questions is not the same as introducing sexuality and sexual identity to your children. It's not the same. That's a fact, Heather. Curiosity about the body is one thing, but actual happy sex fun time talk is unacceptable. Exactly. And if you have kindergartners asking graphic questions about sex, there's probably something wrong. Yep. It's Pickled Squirrel, you nailed it. I would love some sunshine, though. It's dreary this time of year. Oh, I'm sorry. My birthday and what I wanted, and maybe if I could play One Must Fall on the computer. Yeah, see, we all have, I loved video games from a very young age. One of my favorite things is, going to my dad's house. My parents were divorced, and I would go to my dad's house, and we would play Mario. I would watch Ghostbusters and play Mario, man. All right, let's read this bill, because I feel like we need to really look into this and see if it's half as bad. Spoiler alert, it's not, but we're just going to go through it anyway. And teaching middle school kids about anal sex is evil and immoral. I saw a 17 or some teen mag, and it had info on article on anal sex. This is still against the law in most states. Heather, you saw Teen Vogue. That was Teen Vogue that did that. A guide to anal sex. They brought that up. Teen Vogue has become one of the most hard leftist rags there is on the planet. And they are 100% trying to introduce all sorts of sex to kids. All right, let's read this. An act relating to parental rights and education amending numbers and letters, requiring district school boards to adopt procedures that comport with certain provisions of law for notifying a student's parent of specified information, requiring such... I'm sorry, folks. Legalese is not my first language. Requiring such procedures to reinforce... I should probably get Susie on here to do this. The fundamental right of parents to make decisions regarding the upbringing and control of their children in a specified manner, prohibiting the procedures from prohibiting a parent from accessing certain records, providing construction, prohibiting a school district from adopting procedures or student support forms that prohibit schools. Hit the wrong button there. Prohibit school district personnel from notifying a parent about specific information or that encourage or have the effect of encouraging a student to withhold from a parent such information. Prohibiting school district personnel from discouraging or prohibiting parental notification and involvement in critical decisions affecting a student's mental, emotional, or physical well-being, providing construction, prohibiting classroom discussion about sexual orientation or gender identity in certain grade levels or in a specified manner, requiring certain training developed or provided by school districts to adhere to standards established by the Department of Education. So, okay, so far, here's what we've got. For those of you who are completely lost in what that just said, which I do not blame you, legalese is a very strange language. All it says at this point in time is you will be prohibited talking about sexual orientation or identity or sexualizing students, and you cannot introduce anything of that nature without first letting the parent know what's about to happen. That's pretty much the layout of what all that means right there. And also the school cannot pass anything that states that they don't have to, like any policy. They can't pass any policy that states that they can leave the parent out of any kind of educational decisions. This is aimed to protect the parents' rights to basically have their kids learn what they think they should learn, which is common sense. This is a parent's child that you're talking about. This isn't your kid, it's their kid. You shouldn't be allowed to do anything without the parent's permission or express notification of the parent if you decide to do anything off script. Oh, definitely follow Susie's writing. Thank you for Nintendo for doing that. Requiring school districts to notify parents of healthcare services and provide parents the opportunity to consent or decline such services. Again, putting parents in control. Providing that a specified parental consent does not waive certain parental rights. Requiring school districts to provide parents with certain questionnaires or health screening forms and obtain parental permission before administering such questionnaires and forms. You cannot hand the student something that has anything to do with health or ask them certain questions without first letting the parent know that this is going to be distributed to them. Requiring school districts to adopt certain procedures for resolving specified parental concerns, requiring resolution within a specified time frame. So you can't just let them know and then not get back to the parent is what I kind of take from that. So if the parent has an issue or something of that nature and they say, well, I don't want this, the resolution has to be done soon. It can't just lay there and fester and not go unanswered while you do what you want to do. And then come back later. It's almost kind of like stopping the whole, ask for forgiveness rather than permission kind of avenue. Requiring the Commissioner of Education to appoint a special magistrate for unresolved concerns. Okay, if things are getting unresolved, somebody, a party comes in and helps to resolve these things. Providing requirements for the special magistrate, whatever he might need to help facilitate the resolution. Requiring the State Board of Education to approve or reject the special magistrate's recommendation within specified time frame. Okay. Requiring school districts to bear the costs of the special magistrate. Fair. Parents should not have to pay for this, and if they try to make parents pay, I guarantee you that's a smart thing to put in there. Because if the school districts really wanted to enforce things on the kids without the parents permission, they could easily make it way too expensive for the parents to do anything. Requiring the State Board of Education to adopt rules, okay? Providing requirement for such rules, okay? Authorizing a parent to bring an action against a school district to obtain a declaratory judgment that a school district procedure or practice violates certain provisions of law. So bring the school to court. Providing for the additional award of injunctive relief, damages, and reasonable attorney fees and court costs to certain parents. This is good. So if the school screws up or they decide they want to try to screw up, they have to pay for everything if the parent decides to take it to court. Or multiple parents. They could break the school in half. So it makes it expensive for the school to screw up, which is awesome. Good. Requiring school district to adopt policies to notify parents of certain rights. Okay. Providing construction, requiring the department to review and update as necessary specified materials by a certain date, providing an effective date. Have you guys seen the word gay yet? Anywhere in here? Because I haven't. Still kind of, still searching for the... We're going to find the word gay, guys. Don't worry. It's going to be in here. Be it enacted by the legislature of the state of Florida, Section 1, Paragraph C is added to subsection 8 of section numbers and letters Florida statutes to read, powers and duties of district school board. The district school board acting as a board shall exercise all powers and perform all duties listed below. Student welfare. In accordance with the rights of parents enumerated in words and numbers, adopt procedures for notifying a student's parents if there is a change in the student services or monitoring related to the student's mental, emotional, or physical health or well-being, and the school's ability to provide a safe and supportive learning environment for the student. The procedures must reinforce the fundamental right of parents to make decisions regarding the upbringing and control of their child by requiring school district personnel to encourage a student to discuss issues relating to his or her well-being with his or her parent, or to facilitate discussion of the issue with the parent. The procedures may not prohibit parents from accessing any of their students' education and health records created, maintained, or used by the school district as required by the law. So, yeah, no secrets. No secrets. That is what that boils down to, noob. As it is, they'll probably make paperwork that is artificially obtuse and difficult to fill out in order to pitch the... Not only is this not say gay, but it's red tape and overcomplicated argument. Yeah. This seems pretty straightforward so far, despite all the legalese, which, I mean, it's got to be airtight, because they will try to find, as Noob just pointed out, they will try to find a way around it. And after some time, they probably might, but you know what? It sounds to me like Florida legislature is going to be right there. You're like, oh, thanks for pointing that out to us. Gone. 2, a school district may not adopt procedures or student support forms that prohibit school district personnel from notifying a parent about his or her student's mental, emotional, or physical health or well-being, or a change in related services monitoring, or that encourage or have the effect of encouraging a student to withhold from a parent such information. So not only can you not keep secrets, you can't encourage the kid to keep secrets. School district personnel may not discourage or prohibit parental notification of and involvement in critical decisions affecting the student's mental health, emotional, or physical well-being, health or well-being. This subparagraph does not prohibit a school district from adopting procedures that permit school personnel to withhold such information from a parent if a reasonably prudent person would believe that disclosures would result in abuse, abandonment, or neglect, as those terms are defined. So in other words, if they actually do see real abuse, and I'm talking about real abuse, because you have a lot of leftists out there going, it's child abuse to not let their kid be trans. You're trying to turn the kid into trans kid. Come on. Especially that young. They're not even thinking about sex and sexual identity. But I'm talking real abuse. Starvation, beating, emotional damage that they're actually doing to the kid. You know, that's good. That's good for a teacher to act on. They should. Classroom instruction by school personnel or third party. Still haven't heard gay yet. Classroom instruction by school personnel or third parties on sexual orientation or gender identity may not occur in kindergarten through the grade 3 or in a manner that is not age appropriate or developmentally appropriate for students in accordance with state standards. So that's the 3rd grade and down law right there. Can't teach them that stuff in this grade on down. Student support services training developed or provided by a school district to school district personnel must adhere to student services guidelines, standards, and frameworks established by the Department of Education. At the beginning of the school year, each school district shall notify parents of each healthcare service offered at their student's school, and the option to withhold consent or decline any specific service. Parental consent to a healthcare service does not waive the parent's right to access his or her student's educational or health records or to be notified about a change in his or her student's services or monitoring as provided by this paragraph. So they can decline a lot of services, but it doesn't mean that despite the fact that the services are declined, that they can't access anything, the parent. They still can. They still have full access to their students' health records. Any conversations that happen between counselors, nurses, anything. It's all right there. And if I was a Florida parent, I would be requesting anything pretty much at the end of every month, maybe every 2 weeks. I'd be like, send me anything. I want it. Before administering a student well-being questionnaire or a health screening form to a student in kindergarten through grade 3, the school district must provide the questionnaire or health screening form to the parent and obtain the permission of the parent. Good. Each school district shall adopt procedures for a parent to notify the principal or his or her designee regarding concerns under this paragraph at his or her student's school and the process for resolving those concerns within 7 calendar days after notification by the parent. Cool. Every 7 calendar days. At a minimum, not biweekly, at a minimum, the procedures must require that within 30 days, you know what it should be? I feel like there should be, I like that better. And without asking for it. The parent should, I just want like a weekly update about anything. If my student is involved in anything, I want a weekly update as to what they're being taught, what's being said to them. If my kid had any interaction with a health professional or a nurse, mental health professional, anything. I don't care what it is. I want to know. And I want it included in that weekly letter that I get every single week. Every single week. At a minimum, the procedures must require that within 30 days after notification by the parent that the concern remains unresolved, the school district must either resolve the concern or provide a statement of the reason for not resolving the concern. Good. If a concern is not resolved by the school district, a parent may, here's the teeth, request the Commissioner of Education to appoint a special magistrate who is a member of the Florida Bar in a good standing and who has at least 5 years' experience in administrative law. The special magistrate shall determine facts relating to the dispute over the school district procedure of practice, consider information provided by the school district, and render a recommended decision for the resolution to the State Board of Education within 30 days after receipt of the request by the parent. The State Board of Education must approve or reject the recommended decision at its next regularly scheduled meeting that is more than 7 calendar days and no more than 30. After the date the recommended decision is transmitted, the costs of the special magistrate shall be borne by the school district. The State Board of Education shall adopt rules, including forms necessary to implement this subparagraph. So if the school doesn't get it right, the school doesn't do what they're supposed to do, special magistrate comes in and resolves it quickly, and the school pays for it. Everything. Bring an action against the school district to obtain a declaratory judgment that the school district procedure or practice violates this paragraph and seeks injunctive relief. A court may award damages and shall award reasonable attorney fees and court costs to a parent who receives declaratory or injunctive relief. Each school district shall adopt policies to notify parents of the procedures required under this subparagraph. Nothing contained in this subparagraph shall be construed to abridge or alter rights of action or remedies in equity already existing under the common law or general law. By June 30th, 2023, the Department of Education shall review and update as necessary school counseling frameworks and standards, education practices, and professional conduct principles, and any other student services personnel guidelines, standards, or frameworks in accordance with the requirements of this act. This act shall take effect July 1st, 2022. That's the entire thing. Where was the word gay? Did anybody hear it? Did anybody hear that? Did I skip over it somewhere? Let's go ahead and just let's go ahead and do a little word search. Gay doesn't come up. It's highlighted in red. No word gay here. Folks, it's almost like we're being lied to. What? How could this possibly be? How could this possibly be? That will be their next weasel point, the abuse and neglect argument. See, that will be Noob. I think that you are correct on that, because they consider abuse to be a child who is not even being talked to about homosexuality, transgenderism, sexual identity, gender identity. They consider that to be abuse. So you're probably going to see some court arguments about this, and that's probably going to get. I'm pretty sure they probably thought of that too. That's going to get leveled out real quick. Or the fool that barks that he knew he was gay at 3 years old. Nobody knows they're gay at 3 years old. That is so. Your hormones haven't even kicked in. Be sure to share this with your friends. We had to sit through the reading of this. It's their turn. Exactly. We'll probably turn this into a highlight, just so everyone has it. So in other words, they even have until next summer to get their affairs in order. Pretty much. We're being lied to. The hell you say? Yeah, it almost seems like the left is coming up with this don't say gay nonsense as a way to make people hate a bill that gives parents the right to say no to gender, to grooming. We're just going to say that. To say no to grooming. That's what this really is at the end of the day. Ron DeSantis shows Disney no mercy as War of the Words breaks over. So this is, so Disney, here is what Disney said about this bill, or as it is now, a law. Disney is, at first, they were like, we're going to stay out of this, guys. We're not going to touch it, which was the wise thing to do for any corporation. It was very wise for them to stay out. But then the people either, I think they have these activists infiltrated inside at the top somewhere, which it seems that there is at least one or two. And also their very loud small group of people who made Disney think that they have really screwed up. Really screwed up. This was the statement from the Walt Disney Company on signing of Florida legislation. Florida's HB 1557, also known as the Don't Say Gay Bill. It's not known as that. Notice that they don't call it what it really is. Notice that they don't call it what it's the Don't Say Gay Bill according to them, okay? But its real name, I want to make sure I get this right, like word for word. Parental Rights and Education Bill is what the bill was called. Parental Rights and Education Law, as it's not called, thank God. It's not the Don't Say Gay Bill. It's the Parental Rights and Education. Notice that they don't say that in this statement. Should never have passed, says Disney, and should never have been signed into law. Bold statement from Disney. Bold statement. Not only did they call it by the wrong name, they go and they say that this shouldn't have ever been a thing, that this should have stayed in a pipe dream in some Republican's mind. Should never have been passed. Shame on Florida. Go to hell. Our goal as a company is for the law to be repealed by the legislature. Right. Good luck. Or struck down in the courts. Good luck on that one, too. I don't know how the courts are going to strike this one down. By the way, Donald Trump did a lot to make sure that the courts were filled with judges who actually follow the law and aren't activists. It was a Democrat not long ago, a Democrat talking head who pretty much tossed in the towel when it came to any of these courts doing anything, because he said, in any given situation, Republicans have won. Doesn't matter what it is. And we remain committed to supporting the national and state organizations working to achieve that. So they're siding with these activists. We are dedicated to standing up for the rights and safety of LGBTQ members of the Disney family. No one's attacking them. No one is attacking them. That is a straw man argument. As well as the LGBTQ plus community in Florida and across the country, they're not under attack either. None of them are under attack. Nobody is attacking the LGBTQ plus community. We're fighting like hell against the activists who are trying to introduce sex and sexuality, gender identity, and all this nonsense to these children in an effort to groom them and secure the rights of parents to dictate what happens to their own child whenever they hand them over to the public education system, which, by the way, those parents pay for. But no one is attacking the LGBTQ plus community. We're going to go into what DeSantis said. Because DeSantis is America's governor. And pretty much, if anybody is leading the country right now, it's not Joe Biden, it's not Kamala Harris. It's not whatever handlers that these two people have. It's definitely not Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer. It's definitely not AOC, whose star has fallen tremendously. It's Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis is in charge of America right now. I feel like he is leading the way. So let's go ahead and listen in on what Ron DeSantis had to say about this whole thing. Because I think that if anybody should have a say, it's the guy who passed the law. Later, Pickled Squirrel, thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Funny, the don't say gay is actually please stop grooming. Or better, it's you will stop grooming. That's what it should be called. You will stop grooming bill. My older sister boycotted Disney 20 years ago. Wouldn't let her kids watch the movies. It's not Joe's talking ice cream cone. It's not Joe's talking ice cream cone either. God, a talking ice cream cone sounds like a horrible experience. Because I would just be eating him. Just like he's screaming for mercy as I'm like, I'm sorry, dude, I can't stop. All right, let's listen to what let's listen to ew, Nibs, what Ron DeSantis had to say.
In relation to some of the one of the things I saw yesterday, we signed the Parents' Rights in Education bill. It's interesting when a Disney-owned ABC would put that out on tweet. They'd say, Governor DeSantis signs bill to prohibit instruction in sexual identity and gender identity in some grades. Some grades. Why would they say some grades instead of K through 3? It's just amazing if you're trying to inform
Good point.
So you saw a lot of this. But then for Disney to come out and put a statement and say that the bill should have never passed and that they are going to actively work to repeal it, I think, one, was fundamentally dishonest, but two, I think that crossed the line.
Yep.
This state is governed by the interests of the people of the state of Florida. It is not based on the demands of California corporate executives. They do.
Get it! Okay. He brought up a really good point. This man. Disney is trying to enforce upon an entire state the values that are held by a state that is super, just on the opposite end of the country and held by a small group of people who found power there. This is Disney not just trying to fight Florida. This is not just Disney trying to fight Ron DeSantis. This is Disney and their California leftist nonsense. They're trying to implement it for every state. They're trying to enforce this for every, because if Disney does win a battle against Ron DeSantis, they can win a battle against any state. Texas, Virginia, Maine, wherever you guys are, Disney will effectively be able to have a say in how your government is run. And at this moment in time, as of this stream, Right now, Disney is controlled by radical leftists. They want to use Disney's considerable power and money to influence the law in your state. Right now, it's Florida. Tomorrow, it might be Texas or Montana or North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Nevada. Doesn't matter. Ron DeSantis isn't just fighting for Florida. Ron DeSantis is fighting Disney for everybody right now. He has to win this. Anything that goes to court, he has to win. Because if he loses, we all lose.
Do not run this state. They do not control this state. I also thought
Preach!
it was interesting. I talked to the Speaker of the House yesterday afternoon, and he said Disney never called him while they were putting this through the House. They didn't seem to have a problem with it when it was going through. If this was such an affront, why weren't they speaking up at the outset? And yet they won't. And then for them to say they're going to actively work to repeal substantive protections for parents as a company that is supposedly marketing its services to parents with young children, I think they crossed the line.
So they're so upset. Disney is so upset. But where were they when this bill was getting passed? Wasn't their original thing was we're not going to get involved? How come no one received a phone call from Disney first? It's only just now happening? Weird.
People ask me, kind of about, their posture on the bill. I said, you know what? If we would have put in the bill that you were not allowed to have curriculum that discussed the oppression of the Uyghurs in China, Disney would have endorsed that in a second. And that's the hypocrisy of
Boom!
It. And, we're going to make sure we're fighting back when people are threatening our parents and threatening our kids.
Boom! God bless this man. God bless this man. He also was on Tucker Carlson talking about this. I think that this is also good to watch, if I'm being 100% honest, because this was a banger of an interview. So let's just go ahead and see what he had to say here.
I have to say, you're one of the only politicians I've ever seen, and so many Republican governors in red states really are some of the weakest people in the country, have caved. You have not caved. You've really tried to explain what this bill's about. If you'll just do it quickly for us.
Saying it like it is, bro.
What is this bill?
Well, this bill is about providing protection so that they know they can send their young kids to school without them being sexualized, without a school telling a young girl, for example, that she may really be a boy. And if schools are trying to do things that impact the health and well-being of the kids and they're undertaking certain services, that parents have a right to know that and provide consent for it. So this is a real bill that empowers parents, it protects our kids, and for a company like Disney, to say that this bill should have never passed. First of all, Tucker, they weren't saying anything when this was going through the House. They only started doing this because the woke mob came after them. But put that aside, for them to say that them as a California-based company are going to work to take those California values and
hammer on this point over and over
law
again.
That was duly enacted,
Hammer
as
it.
you said, supported
That's what this
by a
is
strong
so
majority
important.
of Floridians. They don't run this state. They will never run this state as long as I'm governor.
Preach
Yeah,
it.
they haven't improved Orlando, I noticed. Why don't they throw some money into downtown Orlando and help the people who live there? I have to ask you this, since you're on the topic of Disney. Journalist Chris Rufo, who's really done a lot, has just obtained a video of an all-hands meeting at Disney. The meeting was in response to the legislation you signed in Florida. Here is Disney corporate president Carrie Burke. Watch this.
I'm here as a mother of two queer children, actually.
So this is the Disney exec.
Child, and one pansexual child, and also as a leader.
I have to wonder if that woman, if her kids became that way because they just feel like they are that way, or if she kind of pushed them there. I have to wonder. Because that's a lot of sexuality, alternative sexuality happening in her household.
We have many LGBTQIA characters in our stories, and yet we don't have enough leads. and narratives in which gay characters just get to be characters, and not have to be about gay stories.
So I don't understand why an entertainment company that makes animated movies gets to control legislation in your state.
Well, and especially, Tucker, you got to wonder, like, why is the hill to die on to have transgenderism injected into kindergarten classrooms, or woke gender ideology injected into second grade classroom? Why is that the hill to die on? Meanwhile,
that's a
if
good
we had
question.
done a bill that prohibited talking about the abuse of Uyghurs in China, Disney would have supported that legislation because they don't want to say a word about that. So it's just an odd manifestation of their corporate values that they actually do Disney cruises, Tucker, to the nation of Dominica, which criminalizes homosexuality. So they're fine doing that and lining their pockets. They're fine lining their pockets from the CCP and all the atrocities that go on there. But it's those kindergartners in Florida that they really want to have transgenderism as part of their core curriculum in school.
And talking to kids about their genitals. Like, I thought that was, I'm not a lawyer, I thought that would be a crime, right? No? It should be?
Tucker, I mean, I think about when I was in school, we just did schoolwork. You know, we did things like math and science and reading. I don't even know how this would become fodder for a second grade classroom. And so the fact that they're going to this lengths to try to torpedo legislation that I think 90% of parents probably view as just common sense, it really makes you wonder.
I don't recall having to have any of those conversations when I was a kid either. Don't get me wrong, I asked some questions, but I asked questions of like my parents, you know, or people that I knew and trusted. I don't recall my teachers ever feeling like they had to start up a conversation about my penis. Why do teachers today think that they need to start up a conversation about their students' penises or vaginas? Any other time, this would be absolutely strange, and people would be like, fire that teacher immediately. But here we are. They're celebrated by teachers' unions and politicians and activists, Twitter mobs. Why? This is grooming. This is pure grooming. No kid should be subjected to this, yet they want to talk about, they want to take a kid aside or an entire room of kids aside and go, I want to talk about your penis and your vagina and how it doesn't make you a boy or a girl. We're going to throw science out the window, but we're going to talk about it. And then you have activists in places like Indiana and Kentucky, or I'm sorry, Kansas, talking about how they want to introduce your child to masturbation. These people are out in the open. They're unashamed. They're completely unashamed about it. For those of you, just real fast, I want to cover this. And then I want to say something very important about this. Woke Disney creates an environment of fear for non-progressive employees. This is from Jeff Charles, one of my favorite writers. A group of anonymous employees with the Walt Disney Company are speaking out against their employer's decision to involve itself in politics and culture war. In an open letter they wrote to Disney, has become an increasingly uncomfortable place to work for those who do not subscribe to the tenets of wokeism. The Walt Disney Company has come to be an increasingly uncomfortable place to work for those of us whose political and religious views are not explicitly progressive, the letter reads. We watch quietly as our beliefs come under attack from our own employer, and we frequently see those who share our opinions condemned as villains by our own leadership. The workers highlighted the company's Reimagine Tomorrow campaign, which is ostensibly intended to promote underrepresented voices, and argued that the, quote, tomorrow being reimagined doesn't seem to have much room for religious or political conservatives within the company. Left-leaning cast members are free to promote their agenda and organize on company time using company resources. They call their fellow employees bigots and pressure TWDC to use the corporate influence of further left-wing legislative goals. The workers referred to an internal poll asking whether they, quote, felt accepted by the company, and explained that many, quote, didn't complete it because the nature of the questions made us worry that the results of the poll could be used to target us for quietly holding a position that runs against the progressive orthodoxy that Disney seems to promote. The workers complained that the company has, quote, fostered an environment of fear that any employee who does not toe the line will be exposed and dismissed. So not only is Disney trying to influence other states, they are trying to, within their own company, create an environment where if you believe anything other than what the radical leftists are saying, you are othered as an employee. You have employees completely afraid to speak out. They won't fill out forms because they think it's a trap. Disney has fallen. It has fallen to the dark side, man. Really hardcore. And it's so dark that they are trying to empower people to groom your children. This children-based company is trying to allow people with the worst intentions to turn your child into a sexual identity monster and good little activist for their cause, to introduce inappropriate subject matter to small children. Disney wants to empower these people, and it seems that there are people at the top who want this to happen, and no wonder people within the company who believe the opposite are afraid to speak out, because there is a very real environment of fear and punishment within the company for those who disagree. And I want to recall, we talked about this in a different episode, but it was, I think, we watched the march happen, the LGBT march out of Disney happen, and at best it was like 200 to 300 people from the studios. And we came to the conclusion, how many people work at Disney? How many people work at Disney? Let's take a look. See, let's just try to remember. That's not it. Forbes estimated 175,000 people. So the company also owns and operates 4 cruise ships and 12 properties tied to its Disney Vacation Club, which has upward of 200,000 members, according to the official company overview. So let's say that there are around 200. We'll go a little conservative. We'll go more conservative than that. We'll go 150,000. 150,000 Disney employees. Let's say that. Okay. You have 200, maybe 300 walking out, doing that little, we're going to do a walkout and protest what's happening at Disney right now. We're going to do that. That is a small fraction of the company. An nth of the company. And those people, I would even willing to bet that the people who marched, some of them were coerced because they felt like if they didn't, they would be called bigots and punished. So, I'm willing to bring about 50 down from that number, to be honest with you. That nth of a company is terrorizing the other people within the company. My recommendation is for them to throw caution to the wind and all gang up together and speak out and say, this is not how we're not okay with this. This can't continue. Things have got to change. Disney isn't afraid of shareholders anymore. They're afraid of, as Jim said, they're afraid of their own employees. Then the employees who form the majority should stand up and speak out. I know it's scary. I know that there are risks involved. But Disney has to change. I want to make something clear before I sign off to you guys. You are at war right now. And whether or not you think you're at war, they are at war with you. They have declared war. If you are a parent, they are after your child. This isn't hyperbole. This isn't tinfoil hat talk. This is very real. They are openly trying to make this clear to you. They want your children. They want to be able to teach your children whatever they want, and they want to introduce these concepts without you being involved or without you even knowing about it. Red State is full of articles about people who are being educators, who are being exposed for trying to hide this stuff from parents, trying to introduce these concepts. They are after your kids. They're very open about it. They have all sorts of help from activist communities. They have all sorts of help from politicians. They definitely have help from the media. Now they have help from Disney. Disney has caved. And all of these are tanks and bombs and rifles and squads, and all of these are their proverbial military, and they're at war with you, America. They are at war with the parents of America. They are at war with the Republicans, the legislators who stand, not just Republicans, Democrats as well. There are plenty of Democrats out there who do not agree with this. They are at war with you. You are in a war. And the thing that y'all are fighting over is the future. Your kids. That's the prize. The prize for winning this war is control of your children. Disney wants to actively help change law in various places, in states and stuff like that, to allow these groomers to come in and teach your kids whatever you want without your permission or even against your permission. You have people trying to lie about the bill, and Disney's trying to help them lie about it. You'll notice they don't call the bill by its actual name, or the law by its actual name. They call it the Don't Say Gay bill or law, whatever they call it. They completely mistitle it, because they want to pass this idea that whatever is happening right now is on the wrong side of history. It's against the LGBT community. People are not necessarily against the LGBT community. There are many gay people and trans people, I've seen them on Twitter, who are completely against this as well. They don't understand why they have to introduce this stuff to kids. The activist community is out of control. And they have infiltrated major corporations. They have infiltrated media environments. They have infiltrated high offices. And they are trying to push this agenda that will allow them to secure control of your children so that they can raise and groom up good little activists, good little ideological radicals, and good little voters. They are after your kids. Again, not hyperbole. This isn't hyperbole. This isn't tinfoil hat territory. It's all right there for you to see. 10 years ago, this might have been a, wow, that's a little extreme, but it's right here in front of us. There's no arguing the point right now. They are after your children. You are in a war. You can fight it in all sorts of different ways. There are ways to win. And trust me, it's a war they can't win. I will say that. They can't win so long as the parents stand up and fight for their children, show up to these school board meetings, break Disney in half by voting with their wallet, speaking out internally and externally within the company. It's a war that can easily be won by the parents of America. And like I said before, parents are by far the most powerful unofficial political party in the country right now. They are making moves that have Democrats running for the hills. All right, you've got good Democrat governors backing down very quickly from these high vaunted positions that they once held. About masks on children and COVID precautions and all that stuff. They are running away, including Delaware, where Joe Biden is from. You've got in San Francisco parents who were so pissed off about the wokeness of the school board there that they have axed 3 with a 4th on the way, school board members. Okay, it's not, and that is the bluest of the blue. This isn't an impossible war to win. When parents actually say something is going to happen, it happens. Parents are insanely powerful in this country, and they need to remember that. And if Disney thinks that they're going to take on the parents of America, even just to Florida, if they think they're going to take on the parents, they're out of their damn minds. Disney will lose this fight. It's not even a question. What's up, Becca? So what kindergartners don't need to know about anyone's partner, gay or straight. Yeah, it's not. You know, that's an actual, it's a South Park gag right now during this season that Mr. Garrison keeps continuing to talk about his personal relationships as gay relationships to the students, and the students are like, can we just learn something, please? Oh, you missed Gizmo at the top as well. Oh, yeah. Gizmo was here. I don't know where Gizmo's doing now. Remy's asleep. I'd argue not just control of your children, but outright the freedom of your children. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. This is a zero-sum game, man. They want it all. And they'll take it if they can. But I sincerely doubt we're going to do that. Vote accordingly. For one, midterms are coming up. Vote accordingly. Because if you elect Democrats now amidst all of this, they're going to get a big ego. One that bigger than they've already got. And they'll think that they can pretty much just push anything. True story. Hey, Brandon, I snuck in late. Hey, better late than never, man. Welcome. But we are kind of ending the show. Guys! That episode was hilarious. The only thing kids hate hearing about more than their parents having sex is their teachers having sex. Yeah, I never... Oh, man. My teachers growing up were not the kind that I wanted to hear about. There were a few. But otherwise, it's just so inappropriate. Kids don't need to know your personal life. Okay? Keep your personal life out of the kids' life. Keep your politics out of the kids' life. Just leave the kids alone, man. Leave the kids alone. They don't need you mucking up the works. Guys, thank you so much. That's going to be doing it for me today. Follow me at @TheBrendanMorse on Twitter if you're not already. Like this stream if you haven't yet. And subscribe to it. Click the bell notification icon so you know when we go live. Go to redstate.com. Everything that we have talked about today is on redstate.com right now. Also, if you are not yet, please sign up for the VIP program. It really helps us out because, guys, we are not very well liked by Twitter, by Facebook. We've come under attack by the Associated Press for opinions that we've had on Twitter. Jeff got attacked by the AP over a joke on Twitter. And these people have the ability to tell ad agencies and whatnot to advertise with us. They can really hurt us. This is why we created the VIP program, so that they cannot control us. So if you have a little extra cash in your pocket, $5, something like that a month, $7 a month, I believe, please, by all means, you get some extra stuff to go with it that many people on the front page don't get. And you can use promo code Morse for a discount. I'll give you a discount if you sign up. Thank you guys so much for everything. I will see you guys on Friday. We'll come up with something fun. We always end Friday on a fun day, on a fun note, if you will. But I love you guys. Thank you guys for hanging out. I will see you guys later. Peace!